Levels. The younger, less successful, not quite as handsome but still handsome brother in the Soulsborne family. While the elder sibling, the bosses, usually gets all the attention, in this video we're honoring and dishonoring this integral and vital part of the Soulsborne games. I'm going to be going over each game from Demon Souls to Elden Ring and telling you which is the best and worst area of that game. In my opinion, of course, feel free to disagree and by extension be wrong. No hub areas, by the way, those will get their own video. Eventually. Probably. Grab your Estus and let's get into it. Starting with Demon Souls. Now, I like to end in positive notes, so for each game, we'll be starting with the worst area. Now, before I tell you which is the worst level in Demon Souls, let me clarify something. This list is a mixture of both enjoyment while going through the area and level design in terms of physical layout, enemy placement, environment, etc. Just because a level is meant to be tough and grueling to get through, does not necessarily mean that it's bad. A level or area can be designed to be frustrating, but as long as it doesn't go overboard and is well crafted, can actually be considered good. In my eyes, at least. I just wanted to clarify that because, in my opinion, the worst area in Demon Souls is 5-2, aka the Swamp of Sorrow. Oh, I'm sorrowful, alright. Sorrowful that I ever bought this game. Okay, look, I meant everything that I said before, but come on, 5-2 is still obviously the absolute worst area in Demon Souls. The Poison Swamp level has been done like 100 times since the release of Demon Souls, but future games tweak it in ways to at least make the experience less frustrating. For example, Faron Keep from Dark Souls 3 is extremely disorienting and a slog to get through on your first attempt, but on subsequent attempts you can get through it in like 5 minutes if you know where to go. Blighttown is frustrating, yes, but I actually think it's pretty good in terms of physical layout. You can also sprint to the boss immediately once you make your way to the bottom, while still having plenty of area to explore if you wanted to. 5-2 on the other hand, does nothing of these. It's almost entirely filled with the swamp, with just a few patches of solid ground that are jam-packed with annoying enemies. If you try to dodge while in the swamp, your character will instead perform an animation that lasts 3 to 5 business days, leaving you very much open to be slaughtered. You can't really rush to the end in subsequent runs as the level is linear and also very punishing. It's just overall a really bad time. And to top it all off, you don't even get a good boss fight at the end of it. You get to fight a sentient pile of turds and then immediately after that, you get to fight some dude in armor in order to kill some chick who goes down in like 5 hits. Bad. Easily the worst level of Demon Souls. Okay, so moving to the best level in Demon Souls, this has to be, hands down, 3-1, aka the Tower of Latria. Why is this level so good? Well, first of all, the atmosphere. Demon Souls does a really good job overall in captivating players and immersing them in its world. You really feel like you're going through a castle, mines, the swamps, and this feeling is especially prevalent in 3-1. You begin your journey through this map in a cell. The area is dark and dim, you have wretches locked away behind bars, Lovecraftian monstrosities roaming the halls, searching for any soul unfortunate enough to cross their paths. This level is very disorienting at first. The way you get through it is by simple process of elimination. You try to go as far as you can until you find a new key or door that opens, then you might go back, open a new door. 3-1 features a level design aspect that's not that prevalent in Soulsborne games, and especially not in Demon Souls. Backtracking. You constantly go back and forth opening new sections with newfound keys until you make your way to the bottom. This level rewards exploration too, or to be more precise, it pretty much makes exploration mandatory. The boss found at the end of this area will keep getting resurrected if you don't find the one responsible beforehand and kill him. I like it when environmental factors affect the mechanics of a boss fight. It feels like I'm rewarded for taking my time to thoroughly explore an area, which is why 3-1 takes the gold medal as the best area in Demon Souls. Alright, moving up to Dark Souls 1 next, a game that is highly praised for its world and level design. Y'all know which area is the worst. This level is legendary for bringing tears to most players' eyes. It is so bad that many people consider actually dropping the game because of it. It has creatures spitting fire, creatures spitting poison. Let's not beat around the bush. The worst area in Dark Souls 1 is obviously Lost Izalith. It's not Blighttown and it's not even close. Blighttown is annoying to get through, yes, it's a frustrating map filled with frustrating enemies, and yes, you will probably die like 20 times on your first playthrough, but Lost Izalith is far worse than Blighttown due to one simple fact. It has god-awful design. Seriously, from start to finish, this area is just bad. I like the fact that killing the first boss makes the lava disappear. It's cool when bosses are tied together with the environment of an area. But other than that, this level is awful. The areas here are big, devoid of any meaningful rewards or design, and are filled with tough enemies for no apparent reason. Seriously, who's ever going to bother fighting all these things? It's not like you get anything out of it. Several parts stretch out for no reason at all. The second half of the map is filled with lava, so you absolutely need to equip a specific ring to pass through it. Which is just annoying, especially considering that you only get 2 ring slots in Dark Souls 1. There's no rhyme or reason behind the design of the majority of this map. And to top it all off, you get to fight the worst boss of this game, and arguably of the entire Soulsborne franchise, at the end of this area. There's a reason why Lost Izalith turned out this terrible though. Many of you are probably aware of the difficulties in production of Dark Souls 1, specifically regarding the second half. It's generally understood that Dark Souls' second half was designed in a rush due to time constraints. It's also possible that the devs chewed on more than they could swallow and were overly ambitious about Dark Souls' world design, especially with Lost Izalith. So due to these time constraints and other factors like using a jaggy game engine, we instead got the worst map in the entire game and an overall steep drop in quality in the second half of the game, especially from a level design perspective. And on that note, moving on to the best map in Dark Souls 1, which should surprise no one, Anor fucking Londo, baby. It's generally agreed upon that Anor Londo was both the metaphorical and literal peak of Dark Souls 1 world design. Anor Londo represents the very end of the first half of the game and is obviously an area that received a massive amount of attention and love from the developers. Anor Londo is an extremely important area in terms of lore. This was the capital of the Land of the Gods, a pivotal race of beings in the world of Dark Souls. Anor Londo has all the hallmarks of a fantastic level. It's linear-ish in its design, in that there is more or less a main path, which however frequently diverges into many different optional and even hidden sections. You can find the hidden bonfire in Gwyn's tomb, and can even fight a hidden boss fight there by taking the correct steps. You can make your way downstairs in the massive building and even enter the painted world of Ariamis. You can open shortcuts, break illusory walls. There's so much density and potential for exploration in this area. The enemies are mostly well placed and the difficulty is challenging but doesn't feel frustrating. Well, except for that one section, but come on, that's a classic. At the end you get to fight one of the best bosses in the game. Anor Londo even hosts a dark secret. A secret that, if you actually pay attention to the story, makes perfect sense. See, the era of the gods has long since passed. Gwyn desperately wanted to keep the Age of Fire going, so he tried everything he could to rekindle the first flame. But the reality is that the era of gods is very much over. The majestic, sprawling Anor Londo you find in the game is actually a facade. If you attack Guinevere, daughter of Gwyn, in her chambers, it's revealed that she's nothing but an illusion crafted by Gwyndolin, son of Gwyn. The entirety of Anor Londo reveals its true nature as a decrepit, abandoned place once this illusion is broken. And that, my friends, is what I call good world building. Anor Londo is undoubtedly the best level in Dark Souls 1, and as much as I'd like to put Ash Lake in the top spot, it really can't be anything other than Anor Londo. Dark Souls 2 is up next. You heard of Dark Souls 2? Some people are not that fond of it. Now, let's be honest, there's a host of bad levels to choose from in Dark Souls 2. From a cave filled with poison-shooting statues, to a keep filled with 3 times the amount of enemies it should have, to another cave filled with poison-shooting statues. But I think we all know, without a sliver of doubt in our minds, which area is the worst in Dark Souls 2. It is obviously the frigid outskirts from the Crown of the Ivory King DLC. Now, this level might not have poison swamps or 10 million enemies or annoying traps, but it does have something that's much, much worse: reduced visibility. The whole gist of this level is that there is a constant raging blizzard that reduces your visibility to a significant margin. There are almost 0 landmarks for you to use to navigate your way around this map. And, you know, just in case you thought, alright, I'll just pick up a random direction and start running. I'll probably end up somewhere, right? The game makes sure to remove that tiny last sliver of hope from your grasp by adding enemies that will assault you periodically. Obviously, you have to deal with them, which naturally screws up your whole sense of direction. Seriously, who came up with this crap? I'm just curious for a name, I'm not gonna hurt them, I swear. I just want to point out that someone actually designed this, and then, presumably, a group of adults with functioning brains saw it and said, yeah, looks good, put it in the game. You wanna know just how bad this area is? I never actually finished it. To date, aside from the Chalice dungeons and some random smaller bosses in Elden Ring, the King's Pets are the only Soulsborne boss fight that I have never tried. I would like to fight them for video footage, but I won't. I'm not subjecting myself to that torture again. I tried it once, couldn't go through this slog of a map, that's it. Worst area ever. Moving right along to the best area of Dark Souls 2, this was a tougher choice than the worst one. Dark Souls 2 has some very good levels. Drangleic Castle, Broom Tower, Heidi's Tower of Flame, but I think the cake here should go to Frozen Elysium Lois. It's really ironic how the worst area and best area of Dark Souls 2, in my opinion, are basically right next to each other. Elysium Lois is a fantastic and, dare I say, revolutionary area for the time. Not only is this map really big and expansive with multiple levels of verticality, but it also transforms over time. By progressing the story of the DLC, the ice in several key locations will melt, revealing new paths. This adds a nice layer of backtracking to this map as you get to explore and learn it for a second time. It also ties in with the final boss fight of the DLC, the Burnt Ivory King. By exploring this area, you can find 4 Knights of Elysium Lois that will aid you in the final fight, again providing a great reward, amongst others of course, for thoroughly taking your time to explore the map. Hats off to From Software for this one, it was an amazing map for its time, and for me, the best map in Dark Souls 2. Bloodborne is up next, and unlike all previous titles so far, I don't really have a level that stands out as being really awful in my head. At the end, it boiled down to 3 areas: the Forbidden Woods, Yahar Gul the Unseen Village, and the Nightmare Frontier. Yahar Gul is probably the one that pisses me off the most. It's just so frustrating to get through due to how aggressive the enemies are, as well as the fact that you have the fucking amygdalas constantly shooting at you. But I have to admit that the level features some cool concepts like well-placed hidden areas, and the fact that you can get here much earlier than when you're supposed to. The Nightmare Frontier never really bothered me that much personally. Don't get me wrong, it's not fun, but it's linear enough and has enough shortcuts for me not to get too frustrated, which leaves the Forbidden Woods as my choice for the worst Bloodborne area. To be more specific, I'm referring to the second/bottom half of the Forbidden Woods. The first half I actually find to be fairly enjoyable. Yes, you have some annoying enemies as well as traps, but for the most part, it was fine. But the second half is another story. There's 2 reasons why this level sucks: the enemies and the visual design. The enemies found here are mostly giant snakes and snakeheads, both of which are very tough and annoying to deal with enemies. The area is absolutely crawling with them too. The visual aspect of this area, as well as its layout, also makes it very easy to get lost in. Did I already go this way, or is this a slightly different path from the one that I took 5 minutes ago? The fact that most of the enemies here are the same also doesn't help with gaining a sense of direction. This is a confusing maze of trees and snakes, which is why it's my pick for the worst area in Bloodborne. Now, as for the best area in Bloodborne, we have a few options to choose from. Cairnhurst Castle is a fantastic optional level, and the fact that it's hidden and you actually need to work a little bit to find it makes it all that more memorable. It also has a great boss at the end of it. The Research Hall from the DLC is also another standout area, with the level's vertical design and complex structure, again leading to one of the game's best bosses at the end. But in my opinion, the title should go to no other than Central Yharnam, the very first area of the game and possibly the greatest starting area in any Soulsborne game. While starting locations in the Soulsborne games tend to be more linear and straightforward, usually to give the player a chance to get used to the game's mechanics, Central Yharnam takes a different approach. While not super big in size, the appeal of Central Yharnam comes from its density and diverging paths. There are several sections in the map where you can take alternate routes. Break some boxes here and land in a different part of the map. Then go to the left to head back to the lamp, or go right to head inside a huge building. Then find your way to the sewers. Good, you're here. You can take a ladder up or keep exploring the sewers. Oh, what's that? Another ladder you can take. And don't forget that there was a different path altogether that you could take. Central Yharnam represents the best aspect of From Software level design. Dense, complex areas that seem smaller than what they actually are. Areas packed with secrets and hidden paths. It's a fantastic area, it hosts 2 bosses, what more could you ask of it? It's my pick for the best area in Bloodborne. Time for Dark Souls 3, and I know what you're thinking. Ooh, Faron Keep, it's obviously the worst level. Ooh, Faron Keep is definitely the worst one. Faron Keep is horrible. Faron Keep, Faron Keep. Look, if I were making this list purely from the perspective of a brand new player, then yes, Pharaoh Keep would be the worst one. It's extremely disorienting, it's a massive pain to get through. Finding the 3 bonfires as a first-time player is like telling a TikTok-obsessed 15-year-old kid to find his way home by following the constellations. But once you actually learn to navigate Pharaoh Keep, this area isn't that horrible. It's still really bad, but it's also full of loot and you can get through it in like 3 minutes if you know where to go, and you can equip a dagger to get through the deep swamp quickly. No, my choice for the worst area in Dark Souls 3 is actually the Consumed King's Garden. I can describe this level in one simple word: pointless. Utterly and completely pointless. Seriously, what's the point of this area? It's just a swamp filled with Puss of Man enemies and Titanite chunks. It's barely even an area. The only other feature it has is the shortcut back to the starting point and the elevator which you can use to get above the knights at the end. That's it. That's the extent of this area. Soulsborne levels are supposed to be an experience. You're supposed to want to explore them, find out their secrets, and fight your way to the boss at the end. At least you do that in Pharaoh Keep, however begrudgingly. But here, who in their right mind is going to spend time in this level? You just rush through, grab all the Titanite chunks you need, and then immediately head to the boss. It's a pointless map that honestly should have been either reworked or scrapped altogether. There's plenty of Titanite chunks in Lothric Castle. So, the Consumed King's Garden is my pick for the worst area in Dark Souls 3. Now, as for the best area, well, it will make sense for me to pick Irithyll. It was even included in my list video for the top 10 best Souls areas that I made a few months ago. But I've grown since that time. And while I think that Irithyll is fantastic, both in terms of aesthetics and level design, it does have some stretches that are, well, kinda empty, which only slightly knocks it down below what is my pick for the best level in Dark Souls 3, the Cathedral of the Deep. The reason why I chose the Cathedral over Irithyll is because the Cathedral has more verticality and is also more dense as an area. It's similar in a way to Central Yharnam, in that you have the central checkpoint that then connects to various parts of the area through various shortcuts. There's tons of diverging paths to take, lots of verticality, tons of different enemies, lots of hidden paths. Again, like Central Yharnam, the Cathedral of the Deep represents the best aspect of From Software level design, which is why it's my choice for the best area in Dark Souls 3. Next up, Sekiro. Yeah, not technically a Soulsborne game, whatever. Sekiro is one of my favorite From Software games when it comes to map exploration. The fact that you can jump opens up a lot of possibilities for exploration that didn't exist in the Soulsborne games, especially regarding verticality. The grappling hook also opens up a lot of new avenues. While Sekiro doesn't really have that one horrible map like many other From Software games, I think the choice for the worst map isn't that difficult. Really, it came down to 2 options: Mibu Village and Sunken Valley, specifically the gun fort. You all know the gist of the gun fort. You have snipers pummeling you with machine gun fire from 50 yards away, and you can do nothing about it. All you can do is try and avoid the gunfire until you physically reach the enemies and exact your revenge. It's just a bad experience overall, but at least the rest of the area isn't too bad. Mibu Village, on the other hand, which is my choice for the worst map in Sekiro, kinda just sucks all around. This is the classic From Software map that is filled with enemies and thus incentivizes you to rush through it, grabbing all the important items in your way and not taking your time to explore, which is exactly the opposite of what I like to do and what a map should incentivize. The villagers here will endlessly respawn unless you kill them in a specific way, such as a death blow, which only adds to the frustrating aspect of you not being able to take your time and explore the area, which is a shame since I think this level looks pretty good visually. It sets an unsettling and even rotten atmosphere. In this sense, I suppose having zombie-like enemies fits as a thematic choice, but from a gameplay perspective, I hate it. The only silver lining is that you could get through this level very quickly if you wanted to, which is exactly what ends up happening every time I replay Sekiro. I have no desire to ever explore this level more than what I have to, and for this reason, it takes the spot as the worst Sekiro level for me. As far as my choice for the best map in Sekiro, that wasn't too much of an issue either. I already picked my favorite Sekiro map a while back when I made the best Soulsborne areas video, so here it is again. The Fountainhead Palace is, in my opinion, the best level in Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Let's start with the fact that this area is built up from earlier in the game. It's referenced as this mythical, hidden, legendary place that many characters spend their entire life trying to reach. This is an extremely important and pivotal area in the universe of Sekiro. And while this video is mostly about the gameplay aspect of the From Software maps and levels, I mean, come on, you have to give it some points for awesomeness. Now, from a gameplay perspective, this map is the culmination of your journey in Sekiro. You get to run, use the grappling hook, swim, and of course, dive underwater. You'll have to use all of these traversal features to finish the level. The enemies here are tough and dangerous, and you even have enemies that can kill you just by looking at you. The area is huge. You start your journey by going through the houses in the lower part of the palace, which are filled with corridors and enemies. You might also try to take a swim and will instantly be turned into a fried egg. So you proceed to the middle part of the level, where it starts to become much more vertical and you push your way through lots of powerful enemies until you finally reach the asshole that was spamming you with lightning projectiles and kill him once and for all. After that, the waters of Fountainhead Palace are yours to explore. You can dive to find hidden treasure and you can even play hide and seek with a giant fish. In fact, you have to, in order to progress. After that, you reach the top of the palace, where one of the game's coolest bosses awaits. Yes, I love the Divine Dragon.
I said what I said!
This area is stunning both from a visual and gameplay perspective, and for that reason it takes this spot as the best Sekiro level. And finally we arrive where all good stories end. Elden Ring. Now, Elden Ring is kind of special since it's an open world game, but also features major legacy dungeons. At first I thought I'd split them and choose a best and worst member for each, but it turns out there's not any major legacy dungeon that I really dislike. Most of my disdain when it comes to Elden Ring's areas comes from certain overworld locations, so I'm just gonna pick whichever I want, either from an overworld location or a major legacy dungeon. Thanks for understanding. My pick for the worst area of Elden Ring is the mountaintops of the giants. I've said this before, Elden Ring is probably the From Software game that I've replayed the most. Well, it and Dark Souls 3. And every time I replay this area, I die a little bit on the inside. But why this map? Why not the concentrated snowfield, for example? Well, to be honest, I was on the verge of choosing the concentrated snowfield as the worst Elden Ring area. It's also mostly empty and contains lots of tanky enemies that nobody is ever going to bother fighting. In the first half, there's limited visibility, just like a certain other hated From Software area, but at least you do have a map and so you can orient yourself. But the concentrated snowfield does have one saving grace: Ordina Liturgical Town. I actually really enjoyed the small minigame here, even though it wasn't many people's cup of tea. But to be honest, the main reason I chose the mountaintops as my personal worst area of Elden Ring is just plain old bias. I have replayed Elden Ring a lot. Most of these replays were attempts at a challenge, like a Deathless run, which I completed, and a Hitless run, which I still haven't managed to do, but I'll get back to it at some point. And every single time, I would have to get through the mountaintops, which meant several minutes of mind-numbingly boring map traversal with literally nothing interesting happening. Seriously, there's nothing interesting going on here. You have a huge, desolate, snowy area with annoying enemies, an Evergeel, a field dragon, which big whoop, and one smaller legacy dungeon in Castle Sol, which And to top it all off, once you finally get through this absolute slog of an area, you have to fight one of the worst bosses in the entire game. Yes, I hate the fire giant.
I said what I
hate this map so much, it's not even funny. Yes, the concentrated snowfield and the Lake of Rot might be more annoying to get through, but the mountaintops of the giants will always hold a special place of hatred in my heart on account of how tedious they are. And finally, to wrap this video up, the best area of Elden Ring. I was on the verge of choosing Stormveil Castle. Here's the thing, I actually played Elden Ring before playing Sekiro, so the jump thing in From Software games was a novelty for me. And I can't express how amazed I was the first time I played through Stormveil Castle and realized how much the level opened up once you figured out that you can jump to the rooftops. Seriously, I was amazed, because I haven't seen that level of freedom of exploration in a From Software level before. Now, in hindsight, after having played Sekiro, it wasn't that amazing, though Stormveil Castle easily remains one of the best From Software levels ever. But my pick for the best Elden Ring level has to go to Leyndell Royal Capital, simply due to the sheer amount of density this area has. This map is packed with buildings, roads, houses. It features several layers of verticality. You can go from the top of tall buildings to the ground to even below ground inside the nasty sewers. It's full of so many secrets. It brings out that feeling of playing Skyrim where you find yourself lost and immersed exploring an area, but in a Soulsborne game. This is the heart of the lands between and is also the heart of Elden Ring in terms of level design. I remember when Elden Ring first released, after a few days I was discussing with a friend and he told me that he had just finished clearing out Leyndell. So I said, cool, you checked out the underground area, right? And his response was, there's an underground area? This is just how packed Leyndell is. It's so easy to miss something, even something as big as a whole other area underneath. And this is why Leyndell takes the spot as the best Elden Ring level, in my opinion. And guys, that is it for this list. And now I bring the question to you. Which are your personal worst and best levels of each Soulsborne game? Make sure to let me know down in the comments. If you want to check out which is the best and worst feature of each Soulsborne game, make sure to check out this video next. Thanks for watching this video and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.